Hey, podcast listeners, Happy New Year. Let's hope that this is the best one ever for you. This episode is 92, Crystal Clear Intentions. Yes, your intentions matter, not just on the 3D level, but also for your evolution, for your level of consciousness. Stay tuned to hear more about that. Enjoy the episode.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical Podcast. I'm your host, Renata Hana Maniaci. Here to remind you that you are a spiritual being having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. That's right, you as a soul decided on some level to come down and incarnate into a human body for a relatively brief period in time, all things considered. Please make the best of it. This is episode 92, Crystal Clear Intentions. We are going to talk about intentions today. It's a really important topic. It matters. And to kick us off, I am going to talk about the intentions for this podcast. What it's for, why I started it, what were the intentions going into it. So let me do my invocation first, and then we'll jump into that. Masters and angels, I request your presence, your support, your guidance throughout this episode. Please allow me to be a vessel for your crystal clarity, bringing through whatever needs to come through on this episode. Please allow it to be useful, empowering, inspiring, and informative for all the listeners. Please allow me to speak the truth, know the truth, become the truth, and be the truth. And please let this episode reach whoever needs to hear it. Thank you with gratitude and full faith. Bless creation. So as I said, I want to start by talking about the original intentions for this podcast and then how they may have evolved a little bit, because that is what we're talking about. We're in the new year. It is so important. It's such a great time to set your intentions, and it's not a one and done situation. It is an ongoing process. And to give yourself the space to be able to keep setting your intentions, to keep looking at why you do things, what you want, have crystal clarity about your actions, your words, is really important. It's always important, but it's really important right now and moving forward. So this podcast really started with two main intentions. The first was and remains to remind you, as I do at the beginning of every episode, that you are a spiritual being having a human experience. And that also came in the form of myself having spiritual experiences. I didn't even know to call them that at the beginning, or metaphysical experiences, out of the ordinary experiences that were real, but not really ever talked about in normal conversation, and knowing that other people had these experiences too, and wanting that to be an acknowledged, shared thing, and to let people know that if they're having experiences like this, they are not alone. So I guess the main reason, like I said, it was to remind you that you're a spiritual being having a human experience, and also the other is to share and normalize spiritual and metaphysical experiences, as we state at the end of every episode. And why? Why? Because they're real. They're real. This is the planet. This seems to be the planet that forgot God. This seems to be the planet that forgot the source, the creator, the all that is, the great central sun, the great spirit, that forgot that there is something bigger guiding this whole thing, that this is not random. You are not random. Things that happen for you are not coincidences. That this is not the only life you've had, that this is something that you actually chose to do when you were not in human form. That you've had many, many lives on potentially many, many planets or stars, as many different types of existences, not just human. Rocks, trees, energy, different kinds of beings, or animals, or plants, or minerals, water. I don't exactly know the full reason why I felt so compelled to start this podcast, except that it was something I could not ignore. These were messages I could not keep to myself. It took 2.5 years of my guidance saying to start this podcast for me to actually listen and do it. But I couldn't not do it. Maybe I don't fully understand why I need to share in this way. Why not YouTube? Why not Facebook? Why not a different medium? I don't know. It was always a podcast. But those were always the intentions. Pretty crystal clear intentions from the start. And I think now, if I'm looking at it a little bit deeper, 3 years in, 3.5 years in, I would say that the intentions for this podcast evolved, or at least became more clear to me, to also include a general desire, my own general desire, to raise the level of consciousness on the planet. Not that I can do that alone, obviously, but I guess it's my belief, whether it's true or not, that if folks can remember, if souls can remember that this is not all there is, that this is not their only experience with life, and that they, in fact, on some level chose this experience, that it just brings in this different level of awareness, this higher perspective, and this elevated sense of consciousness, this higher consciousness that, yes, there's more, this reminder, this remembering, this remembrance that, oh yeah, there's more. I've had more. My soul encompasses more experiences, all the experiences since the beginning, since the spawning, since you decided to separate from the all that is, the source, and go out and have your experiences. So I would say that now the podcast also includes that for an intention, which is to help to raise the vibration of the planet, which I guess is also what I say at the end of every episode. But it's worth saying kind of on its own. They all go together. They all make sense together. But that has become more and more clear in this moment, even though it was stated from the very beginning. And that's what we're doing here. That's the point. And, I have a selfish wish that every other business or organization or service or entertainment source would also be really transparent with their intentions, because I don't believe that they are. I really don't believe that most places are open and transparent with their intentions right now, and in fact, maybe go through everything they can to hide their true intentions. And this goes into why intentions are so important, not just for our, day-to-day earthly lives to help us to stay on track and to have goals and to manifest the things that we want in our life. Yes, those are super important. But if you can stick with me for a moment and be open to the idea that you've had past lives, and if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are, and open to the idea that you've probably been to many places, not just Earth, in potentially many forms, not just human. And you probably then understand a little bit more than maybe the average person about karma and how that's a universal law of cause and effect, and that everything you do gives you positive points or takes away points in your cosmic bank, right? And this is another area which becomes really important when we're talking about intention. Your intentions matter karmically. If you are walking down the street and accidentally turn a corner and bump into somebody and they fall down, that was an accident. You're probably not going to get too much of a ding on your cosmic bank account for doing that, because it wasn't your intention to knock that person over. Alternatively, if you turn a corner and see one of your enemies and go and push them over, that's intentional. You're going to get some negative dings on your cosmic bank. That's how it works. And there is such a thing, believe it or not, as people who are here to deliver negative karma to people who have it coming. That is a thing. It's a bit more complex. But that's not necessarily the topic of the day today. Your intentions matter. Your intentions matter for yourself, in your own life, your goals, what you want to accomplish, not only in a day-to-day sense, in a week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year, and for your life. For your life. What do you intend to accomplish? What do you intend to be? Who do you intend to be? What do you intend to be like? How do you want to live your life? Those are all really important, but also the things that you want to accomplish, and then just situational experiences with people. Are you intending to be the center of attention at a party? Are you intending to make yourself look good in front of somebody else? Are you intending to pay people compliments when you see them to make them feel good? Are you intending to do the very best that you can, to be the best human, to be the best soul that you can? These are all just things that are floating in. There's not really an agenda or a right or a wrong here. It's not saying things that you should be doing necessarily. They're just coming in now. But it's an important message today, which is something that not everyone understands in your greater lived experience, is that your intention does matter, and it does help or hinder in the overall, in your cosmic bank. A couple episodes ago, we've been talking about karma and karmic mitigation. So this is kind of very much related to that. And it's also very much related to this new year that we find ourselves in now. It's a sign of evolution, of evolved consciousness, to be aware of your own intentions in everything that you're doing and saying. And people don't necessarily understand that. They may say something, you may say something to somebody, and it might to you come off as an innocent, innocuous question, but there's something behind it. There was an intention there, whether to get more information or to elicit a certain reaction. Our intentions can be very, very subtle, so subtle that we don't even understand them, or we're not even aware of them, but they're still there and they still count. And I think this is very nuanced, but this is kind of where they want us to go today. This is the next step for you if you're listening to this. Okay? It's not just about sitting down with your journal and writing out your intentions for this next year, or for who you want to be or how you want to be. This is about also becoming aware of your intentions in every moment with your actions and your words, even after the fact. It's understanding why you said that thing at that time, what the true intention of that was, and then really understanding it within yourself. Why did I say that? Oh, it's because I wanted to really know this. And that teaches you something about yourself. It makes you more aware. It makes you more perceptive. And it brings you to a higher level of consciousness, which is where we come full circle in this episode today, right? One of my intentions of the podcast is to help to raise the level of consciousness. If I can help to encourage you, listener, to become aware of your intentions in every action and every moment. And that sounds awfully busy, doesn't it? That sounds kind of difficult. And I certainly can't do that for myself. But I think in my own life, this has been coming up a lot lately. Like if I send a text to somebody, I've been recognizing, wait a minute, why did I actually send that text? It seemed like I was wanting just to like check in or know this, but I actually wanted to know something else, right? And then that just brings me into a truer, more clear understanding of myself and my needs, which is inherently a higher level of consciousness. More awareness and more understanding of where you're coming from or where anyone is coming from, or more awareness of any given situation is an evolved state. It's a higher level of consciousness. The more awareness we can have, the higher of level of consciousness we can have, the more we can see. It's like entering a building that has many floors. And let's say when we're born, we come into the first floor and you look out the window and you see that view. As you expand your awareness, as you grow and you learn, you go up to the next level and you look out the window and it's a slightly different view. You can see different things than you could on the first level, and so on and so forth. And there's always another floor to climb and to look out that window and to see more of the big picture. It's not that anything on the first level or the second level or the third level isn't there. It's there. It's true. It's what you're seeing. It's that there's more than that. There's more to the picture. There's more to the story. And the more of the story that we can see, the more aware we are, the higher level of consciousness we are. And that's the point. It's to grow. It's to learn. It's to evolve. It's to learn all your lessons and ascend so that you don't need to come back here unless you want to. But there are other planes, there are other dimensions, there are other places that are, let's say, different than this one, right? This planet that forgot source, that forgot the all that is, that forgot that we're not the masters of the universe, that forgot that we don't know everything, that even forgot that we've lived other lifetimes, that even forgot that there are other planets with other life forms. I don't know if that was forgotten. I think that might have been hidden because, come on, even kids looking at the sky can look at all the stars and be like, obviously there's other life out there. Really? Come on. How egotistical to think that we're the only ones. So looking at why you say things, looking at why you do things, and just becoming more aware of your intentions. And then if you don't like what you see, or if it doesn't feel the most aligned, the most authentic, then you can shift it because you now understand, oh, you know what? I texted that person because I wanted information about this. But I didn't just come out and say that. Or whatever. You know? I went to the rec center because I wanted to move my body and blow off some steam. Great. Or, you know, anything. So it's about taking a closer look. Taking a closer look, understanding more of yourself. And with that awareness, with that crystal clarity of intention, you evolve and you are able to see more. You're able to become aware of more. You're able to raise your level of consciousness, which is one of the whole points of what we're doing here. Maybe on the planet, but definitely on this podcast, right? So I have a few more things I want to talk about, not directly related. Well, they kind of are. It's explaining my intentions for the other things that this podcast does or is involved with. But I will leave the main part of the episode there for today. And I, of course, want to thank the Masters and Angels for allowing me to bring through that information. Hopefully that was fairly clear, fairly understandable, and it makes sense to you that your intentions do matter and it all adds up. And hopefully it adds up for your benefit, for your ultimate positive cosmic bank account. So thank you, angels. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Bless creation. As always, thank you for listening. The other part that I want to touch on today is to talk about the angel donor portion of this podcast and a few of the other things we have going on. So we have a new website now. It was just updated. It looks beautiful. Check that out if you want to. But something that you hear about at the end of each episode, I wanted to explain a little bit more because we have a lot more people listening now. I have a lot more people writing in and curious about learning more and sharing their experiences. So I have a Patreon account for this podcast, and I call anyone who is part of that my angel donors. And I wanted to be crystal clear about sharing my intentions for having such a place. And there's two main intentions for having that. One intention is to provide opportunities for listeners to dive deeper into their spirituality in a high-level way, a consistent way, and a safe way. And so I have provided that platform and the offerings there as a way to do that for people who are interested. Another main reason for that platform is to provide supporters and listeners of the podcast and of Up and Awaken Productions, my production company, a way to contribute to these efforts, to this content. You want to contribute, you want to support it, here's a way to do it. So those are my 2 intentions for having a Patreon account, somewhere where angel donors can come and either support or advance in their own spirituality in a consistent way, or both. Now, what are the offerings for people who are looking to dive deeper into their spirituality? So there's 3 main things that I offer on this platform. One, as you hear about in every episode, almost every episode, is the bonus content. So this is what it sounds like. It is more content. It's deeper dives into specific topics, especially in my first several seasons. It was deeper dives with the guests that I had on, more information, exclusive content. But it also has been lots of clearings. I'll do clearings for bonus content, which means if you have access to that, you have access to those clearings. You can listen to them or watch them if they're videos and get the benefits from those. I also have done different card pulls and prayer requests and processes and a plethora of different things on the bonus content. And most of the episodes do have bonus content. So we're on the 92nd episode now. I would guess that there's around 80 episodes that have bonus content. And you always have access to those things, okay? So that's one of the offerings. And then my 2 other offerings are I do a monthly new moon event and a monthly full moon event. Why new and full moons? They're power times every month, and they're consistent. There's always going to be 1 new moon and 1 full moon in every month. So it helps people to have a more consistent spiritual practice if that kind of thing is useful for them. And so we have them around the new and full moons. Now, both of these offerings are not the same. They're different. Some people sign up to be part of just one of those, maybe just the full moons, and some people sign up to be part of the full and new moon events. And let me explain those. So the new moon events consist of a card pull from typically an oracle deck, whichever one makes the most sense or comes in through the guidance that month, an intention setting or seed planting, if you will, for that month, and also a Q&A with myself, my high self, and my angelic guidance. So folks can ask questions and we bring through the answers. And that is a new moon event. The full moon events are live group clearings, and they have different themes every month depending on the guidance coming through, but also I take listeners' ailments, whatever's going on in your life, you're able to tell me and we'll do a group clearing on that for everyone, because typically if somebody brings it forward, it is meant for everyone. Now, why me? Why do I do this stuff? Before, I've been a energy medicine practitioner for a while now, pretty good one. And now I also obviously work with the angels, and let's be honest, they do most of the work, but really skilled at bringing that energy through. So these are the ways in which I have decided to share that with people. New moon events, full moon events, and through the bonus content. So those are my offerings. And so when you hear at the end of the episode talk about patreon.com/letsgetmeta, that is for people who want to partake in that and or support the podcast and Up and Awaken Productions. And speaking of bonus content, today's is going to be a clearing for crystal clear intentions. Anything that's getting in the way of you having crystal clear intentions, or you being able to see and acknowledge the true, authentic reason and intention for you saying, doing, experiencing something, desiring something, we are going to clear out any blockages to that. So if you're interested in that, go check out patreon.com/letsgetmeta. Any angel donor tier will get you the bonus content and every bonus content that came before it. So thanks for checking that out. So those are my crystal clear intentions. I hope they resonate with you and make sense moving forward. And I wish you all the very best in finding your own crystal clear intentions moving forward and raising in your level of consciousness. Thank you so much for joining today. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up and Awaken production. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. If you are ready to raise your vibration, you might enjoy our free Let's Get Meta Master Clearing. To receive the Master Clearing or to learn more about the podcast, visit letsgetmeta.com. The show is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.